everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is already the end of January. Is it just me or did that go really quickly? Because it went quickly for me, I can tell you that. But it does mean it is time to set up my bullet journal for February. So if you want to see that, take a seat, grab a cup of tea or your beverage of choice and let's get into it. Okay, so let's get started with this bullet journal setup for February, my birthday month. And the theme I have chosen for this month is a packing paper typewriter stamp theme. I'm not sure if that's the official name for this kind of theme in the bullet journaling community, but that's what I'm going with. And the reason I chose this theme was because for Christmas I got an alphabet stamp set, and I've had a little bit of a play with it in my creative journal, which is a separate journal that I don't really share. I occasionally share pictures on Instagram if I want to, but it's more of a private journal. But I really wanted to try it out in my bullet journal. So obviously starting off with the name of the month, I was very worried it wouldn't fit, but it did. One of the things I didn't anticipate whilst doing this theme, because I knew that I was going to use the stamps in my bullet journal, as you can see I did pre-prep some things, was how long it takes the ink to dry. So if I had factored in time for the ink drying process, I probably would have been a bit more ambitious and used the stamps a bit more within the bullet journal setup, but I didn't have time for that. So it might be something I go back in and add a few more of those elements in, but I still like how it turned out in the end, as you will see. So starting off with my calendar layout, still a one-page layout, even though I am now in the swing of my full-time job. I don't use my bullet journal for my full-time job. It's still a bullet journal that I'm using for my creative quote-unquote work. Obviously there isn't a lot of work at the moment. But because of that, I don't need a 2-page calendar yet. Still a little bit quiet. And then in the space at the top by the title of the month, I've just got a Sylvia Plath quote, hence the SP, which says, "Let me live, love, and say it well in good sentences," which I just really like that quote. It makes me smile. I think it's a really sweet, yet really truthful quote when it comes to, the pursuit of writing. On the next page, I've got my monthly task list and my thoughts of the month. As you can see, these are some of the titles that I pre-prepped. The reason I pre-prepped them is because I was worried about trying to make these titles on the fly and them being too big to fit on the page, because the stamps are obviously larger than normal handwriting size. So, as well as that making the setup a little bit quicker, because as you can see I literally just decided where I wanted to put the words and then stuck them down, I do actually like the aesthetic of the words being cut out of separate pieces and then placed higgledy-piggledy. It gives it a kind of scrapbook feel, which I really like. Almost like they're not newspaper cuttings because they're on brown paper, but almost like newspaper clippings. And I think if I had more time, I might have played with the collage aspects that this theme lends itself to a little bit more. But c'est la vie, I did not have time to do that. Oh, I've forgotten to tell you guys the show of the week. And as this is kind of a typewriter theme, the show of the week is Moulin Rouge. I know what you're thinking. Moulin Rouge isn't a show, Michaela, it's a film. Firstly, it is a show. It's been running on Broadway for a little while just before the pandemic. And secondly, Moulin Rouge is just amazing anyway. We don't need an excuse for Moulin Rouge to be the show of the week. So I will put a link to Moulin Rouge, either the cast recording of the Broadway show or the soundtrack of the film, or both, in the description as always for you guys to check out. On to my next two spreads. The first page, which my head is currently covering, is my brain dump page, which was very easy. Just take the word ideas and stick it on the top of the page. Boom, brain dump page. Love it. And the next page is my habit and mood tracker. So on this tracker, I'm tracking the same habits, so exercise, music, social interaction, Spanish, and writing. And then at the bottom, I've got water intake and my mood. And then a lot of little mini February calendars. As you can see with my hand lettering, I've done the same font, or as close as I could get to the same font, as the stamps that I've used. I didn't worry so much about getting the font right for the numbers, just because especially on this spread the numbers are so small, but I wanted to keep consistent with the hand lettering style. I'm not really used to doing a kind of typewriter serif font, so it did take me a bit longer to do all of the hand lettering that I did in this spread, but that's okay. And I do like how cohesive it looks. I also like how minimalist this spread turned out, which is kind of weird because as a setup it was quite fiddly. It wasn't the easiest spread to actually physically set up, but the end result looks very simple and clean, which is kind of interesting. The next two spreads that I'm setting up are new. So this first page is a covers page. So this is where I'm going to be tracking songs that I'm currently learning, specifically 3 songs that I'm currently learning. And on the next page, I've got a draft blog spread. So as some of you may know, or you may not know, I have a website, and on that website I do have a blog. It's always linked in my description if you do want to check it out. But I'm quite bad at keeping it up to date. I find that unless I have an idea that's very reactive, so something happens and I'm like, I need to write about this, and so I'll write the blog straight away, post it, done. I don't tend to write in it, and I have a resolution, same resolution as last year, to write 1 blog a month. And it's interesting because when I'm writing articles or blogs for other people, I have a system. I know what's meant to be in the introduction, the body, the conclusion. I know what points I have to hit, and then I'll draft it in bullet points, and then I'll know what I'm aiming for. So even if I do have a writer's block moment where you just kind of have to force yourself to write, it's fine, and I can fix it in editing. But I don't do that with my blogs. So I think I'm trialing having this draft spread here so I can think of the blog that I want to write in the month, plan it out so that when I open my blog and start writing, I have a plan, and hopefully I can actually get some stuff posted this year. Would be great. And then on the covers page, as you can see, I've just got 3 brown square boxes with the titles of the songs. So the songs that I've got down to work on are Me and the Sky, All You Want to Do, and Waving Through a Window. And then in the gaps of white space to the side of those boxes, I will write something. I haven't decided what it is specifically that I want to write in those gaps. I don't know if I want to make it like a plan of how I'm going to work through the songs and the milestones I want to hit, whether it's going to be more reflective of what I've worked on this month and what I might want to work on continuing on with those songs, or if it's going to be a little mini schedule and like ticking boxes of I've done this aspect of the song and then this aspect of the song. I don't really know yet. This is a very new spread idea for me, so I'm just going to have a think and see. But I think it will be useful because you can often get into the habit when you're just singing songs that you fancy singing of not fully learning songs. You'll kind of half learn them or 3/4 learn them, but you'll never get them to like full on boom, performance standard, see you in tech. Do you know what I mean? And lastly, we are on to my weekly spreads. And as you can see, I'm doing something slightly unorthodox in that I'm putting the title of my weekly log along the side. I actually really liked how this turned out. I think it gave this particular page a nice quirky feel. But the reason I did this was out of necessity. Again, because the stamps are larger than normal handwriting, I had a strong suspicion that the entire title wouldn't fit along the top. And I do usually have that gap along the side where I'll usually doodle something that is in keeping with the theme. So I just thought, why not put the title there instead? And that's what I did. And I do really like it. It's just something different that's unexpected, which I really liked. And then on the next page is my positives log as usual. Again, because I was worried of not having enough room across the top, I just did an abridged version of this title, so it just says positivos, which means positives, as opposed to positivos diarios, which means daily positives. It gets the point of the full title across, so I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, that was just a little compromise I decided to make. There was a lot of kitchen roll going on to stop bleeding and ghosting and helping things dry, but yeah, I think for the rest of the month, I mean, I may just stamp straight onto the paper because I do like how it looks, and I don't really mind about my bullet journal not being quote unquote perfect, but I think also stamping onto something separate and sticking that in is probably the way to go, especially if you're thinking of doing a spread similar to this and you don't like it when things bleed through or goes through. The solution is print on a different bit of paper and stick that paper into your bullet journal, just so you know. The other thing that is a bit different about this spread is the rectangular box to the left of my weekly log at the bottom. That used to be a social media tracker, but it didn't work for me. I'm really bad at social media, so I need to come up with a solution to that ideally. But making that little rectangle a tracker, I just wasn't using it. So at the moment, I've left it blank. It's now the end of January, and I am experimenting with possible other uses for that space, but I didn't want to keep on using it for something that I wasn't really using and wasn't helping me. So I still need to figure out what I'm going to do with that rectangle, but we will see. We'll find a use for it. We will. I do really like this spread. I'm about to say it in the flip through, but I do really like how it turned out. I think it's very inspiring with the whole typewriter aesthetic. I really like it. So here is my final flip through for my bullet journal setup for February. Like I've just said, I really like how this turned out, and I'm really looking forward to experimenting with this theme more throughout the coming months. Well, singular month. So that was my bullet journal setup for February. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Would love to have you on the channel. Stay tuned for more theatre content from a UK perspective, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye friends!